It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Hello, Angie.
Hello, how are you, Mom?
Oh, wonderful. Welcome to Divas That Care. I'm excited interviewing my own daughter, the last born. Oh, my goodness. It might be very easy or very difficult, but I know we're having a great time. And I have your drum here. Hey, we might sing our song later on, so do well. Be good. Wonderful.
Right. Sounds good. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Thank you. Divas That Care. It's a wonderful organization, bringing women together from all over the world. I just love it. Well, you know what? You're my own daughter, so I know everything about you. I hope I do. Introduce yourself to us. Tell us who you are, please.
Yeah, well, my name is Angela Asimoy Mwezi Hall now. I recently was married 2 years ago. And I am your last of 5 children. I was born in McPherson, Kansas. However, now, and of course, since you're my mother, they know I'm of Ugandan heritage. But I live in Los Angeles, California now. I've been out here for quite some time. And I like to say that I'm a creator. I'm a creator of all things to progress people. And my current venture is a platform called QuickHire, which me and your other daughter, Deborah, co-founded this year. And so, we have a lot of exciting things happening right now.
It's exciting. So what do you do in LA?
Yeah, so
besides
in Los
this
Angeles,
new company.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, I do several things. If you spend time in Los Angeles or any other city like New York, you find people have several jobs. But I work in education. I'm currently a student advisor for a major university here. And then also I am very big in music. So I do a lot with writing and production. And I work with one of the lead writers for a production team called No Town Sound. And so that is what I do here outside of QuickHire.
Yes. That's exciting. Very, very exciting. I remember when you moved there, you started driving in LA, and oh my goodness, how will my child manage? But then whenever I called you, panicking here, you were on the road early in the morning, traveling from Van Nuys to wherever. That is wonderful. You see your own children grow up, but they're still babies, as if they're in diapers. However, you're also admiring them and saying, oh, my goodness. Well, I noticed in your bio, you use the word help a lot. Looks like you like helping others. What do you gain from that, helping others? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, well, it wasn't until, growing up in Wichita, you and Dad worked very hard to make sure that we had what we needed, that we went to good schools, that we grew up in a nice house, and, in my community was very supported. We had a lot of African-American, African families that were thriving around us. And so in the communities and my school experience, I didn't really experience firsthand people just being disenfranchised or growing up on the wrong side of town and having to deal with the repercussions of their environment or what they're born into. But when I moved to Los Angeles, my first job out here was working for a nonprofit called Volunteers of America, and that really opened my eyes about how things are just not fair, and how sometimes people are just born into situations, whether it's family or income or a particular area or a disenfranchised minority group, where they are already behind just because of who they are. And so being out here really gave me a push to help people where I can, to advocate for people where I can. And I think that also came from watching both you and Dad, is that, both you, especially you with your ministry and things like that, we've always been raised to help people where we can. And so that has just always been now a big part of what I want to do on my everyday life, is help people.
That is wonderful. Before we get to your company, which has a very interesting name and it's new and it's exciting, so that is some light in this dark time that we're in, trying to help out. You talked a little bit about, your parents being immigrants. What was it like, growing up in an immigrant home? I mean, there are so many stories. I'm sure some you've told, some you haven't. But even the language itself, some words, although we spoke English before we came here, Queen's English, hey, I'm still learning. But, words like, trunk, we called that boot, and, the elevator, lift. I remember in the house, whenever we wanted to take your clothes somewhere to be washed, we said, take them to the better thing. We didn't know what was washed, but, you figured it out. So, how come you survived and you're doing very well?
And I think it's actually a very interesting question, because growing up in a house, especially, I think we probably were the only Ugandans in our area growing up. And so we had our own nuances and sayings, and we had our own foods and culture and language and, holidays and things that, we celebrated. Nobody was up celebrating Ugandan independence, but it was a day that we acknowledged. And so in the house, it was interesting to have our own culture, but on the outside of our home, people were like, especially growing up in Wichita, Kansas, where you can not just be the only black kid in your class, but you can be the only, African child in your class, so it can be very difficult to want to embrace and really expose your heritage, because you have fear that that's going to make you stand out more or become even more different. And even especially now, I think that there is a push, especially in social media, for, Black Girl Magic, and there was a whole movement last year of going back to Africa, and there's like a new movement of embracing African culture and dark skin and things like that. But growing up in the 90s, that was not the case. You would get teased for being a dark-skinned child. You would get teased for, they call you, they'll tell you that your family probably live in Hudson trees or something like that. You get teased if you like I remember I had a lunch that you all prepared for me to take to school, and I was so excited for this lunch. It was rice, peas, and chapati. Like, it was literally like one of my favorite things to eat. But the kids, when I whipped out my lunch, of course, it doesn't look normal to them. They're used to their ham and cheese sandwiches and pizza Lunchables. And so anything that's different, you're going to get teased about. And I remember getting teased for my chapati and peas, and I was like, you guys don't know how good this is.
Yes.
But I think it was interesting because both you and Dad reinforced the beauty of Africa, and you're descendants of kings and queens, and your great grandmother stayed in the palace, and so even as a kid, I remember I was very, very young, and probably like fifth grade, and like a kid was trying to tease me about being African and all sorts of stuff, and I was like, you're just mad because you're not royal, and you don't understand. So being able to, empower your children in the comfort of your own home so that when they go outside and meet the world that's racist and, not accepting, to be able to stand up to them is really important. I think you all did well. So, it was a very interesting experience, but I wouldn't change it for the world. It definitely made me who I am.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And especially you, I don't know if because you are the last born, you learned from everyone else or your own character, but you use the culture, I noticed, to even advance. You were the first black ambassador at K-State.
Yeah.
I mean, that. And I remember you even used some names and some music. Remember how you learned some words? You came and said, Mom, how do you pronounce that? How do you say that? And the students voted for you. I've always been very, very proud of you. Well. We can go on and on and on, but I'm excited about this new company that you are creating during this time. I'll ask you one more question before we go to that. This show is about empowering women, young girls, women at every age group. Also, I am impressed in that you talk about the inequality around women, and I said, how did she learn that? Because I did not lecture to you, although sociologically, I know I'm a sociologist, but I didn't lecture to you yourself, know so much about the girls and women and inequality, and there are so many, especially young ladies, who really aren't aware that, women have a disadvantage, So as though, I have my car and I have my job and I have this and, I'm fine. And I'm saying, no, you're not fine. Thank you very much. The structural thing. So tell me a little bit about your awakening to the injustices and the inequality around women and women of all backgrounds, women of all races. Wealthy or not wealthy, there is that gender gap. So how did you get the awakening, and how do you work on reducing that inequality?
Yeah, well, I think I've always kind of been an advocate for women. I have so many sisters. There's 3 other sisters, and so they were all very vocal with me about their experiences, and whether it was in school or on the job and things like that. So I've always been kind of partial to empowering women because I'm around women so much. But I will say it probably became passion of mine to the advancement of women when I joined my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. They are really huge in the advancement of women, and they were actually one of their first public service projects was walking in the women's suffrage movement in the 1920s. And, when they talk about women's suffrage, when that happened, that the right to vote for women was not including black women. But they knew that if they walked with them at that time, that their time will come. But for now, we have to, support this cause in order for our time to eventually come. And even in that suffrage walk, because they were black, they didn't even let them, they made them walk in the back. Like they made them walk in the back. These other women were looking down on them and were spewing hatred towards them as they were trying to support their cause and be a voice for them so that they can get suffrage, so that one day we all can, and really hearing about stories like that and hearing about different women that were, whether it was in the sciences or in architects or if they worked for NASA, that a lot of times their names were never mentioned, but it was the men that received the applause and the praise. But a lot of times the women that were empowering them, the women that were actually doing the work, they never got any kind of exposure. And now you see, movies come out about these women, and it's like, I never knew that it was them. So, just seeing those inequalities at a young age and seeing how unfair it was. Like, the movie Hidden Figures, the one about the women in NASA. So being exposed to things like that and doing more research and seeing that this isn't just in one particular area, but it happens everywhere where women are not acknowledged for the work they've done. It's something that needs to be changed.
Yes, indeed. As Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Yes, indeed. And the founding of this country, can you imagine where we discuss all these issues in the women's studies classes that I teach? It's interesting how the men confronted Britain, for the equality and justice, and the women weren't included in that. So the women had to do their own movement later on. Yeah. So
right.
And that is why we have to really be supportive of each other, because when there is injustice, indeed, all of us are in trouble. Well, my dear daughter, I'm very proud of you. I have to leave a little time for drumming so that you can sing your song that we sang together. Didn't we sing it at K-State? Maybe we did, but I remember at Wichita State, you came and sang as I was drumming. So, as you know, I take my drum everywhere because it calls people together, and it also heals and teaches us a new song and a new beat. Now, please tell us more about this QuickHire. It's very exciting. Why did you create it, and what is it about? How different is it from the other, groups like that?
Absolutely. Well,
as organizations. Okay.
Yeah. Well, this is an idea that I've had for quite some time, for a few years now. The idea came about one day. I have a background in student advisement, and a student came to my office. She was trying to find a local job in a grocery store or a waitress, and she came and she had all these paper applications and needed help finding new opportunities. So she didn't have a computer, and she needed mine to continue her job search. And it was interesting in that moment to see that, when I was in high school and people before me were applying to certain jobs, blue-collar, entry-level jobs, it was the same process of paper applications. And sometimes you would apply and you'll never hear back. You won't know where you stand, or you may find out months later that you got denied or that they moved on with another candidate. So in that moment, it was when I was like, something has to be changed. Paper applications is such an outdated system. If you work in a white-collar industry, there are so many platforms for you, whether it's Indeed or ZipRecruiter, but they've really streamlined and updated the application process for white-collar jobs. But if you work in the service industry, what they, say blue collar, quote unquote, sometimes you have to physically walk into their location just to see if they're hiring. So that's something that we want to completely, remove and update across the system. And so I've been sitting on this idea and kind of building it for quite some time, but it wasn't until COVID happened and we saw that millions of people lost their jobs, and specifically in the blue-collar and service industry arena, millions of people were just let go and lost their jobs, filed unemployment, as we all saw. And your other daughter, Deborah, I like to say she called me at 4 o'clock in the morning, saying now is the time. Now is the time that we need to move forward. And that was in March that we have been really buckling down on this idea, building out the application, building out the website, partnering with different companies, and now we have our beta version, which is our test version, available in the Apple Store. And then hopefully in the beginning of next week, it'll also be available for Android. So it's a very cool interface, very easy to find jobs and apply to jobs. And you'll hear anyone that applies to jobs, you'll hear back as to where they stand, if they'll be moving forward or not. So we're really excited about it. So things are moving quickly, but I guess that's the name, QuickHire. We're moving fast.
QuickHire, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, so how can we be of help? This is a women's network, and, there are other groups there. So how can we spread, how can we help advance that cause? And there are many people I know, even here, who were working not too long ago, hard-working people with jobs. Now they have nothing. The West African Union organization that I founded 9 years ago, So the other day we were talking about, let's start an emergency fund to help our very, own group here, because, hey, some people may need food. You see what I mean? Not because they're lazy, but because they have no jobs, And it is hard, especially for people who are self-sufficient. They may not even say, they may not even come out to say, I need food or I need diapers for my baby. We have to be ready to provide that. So I'm very proud of you. Back to my question, how can we be of support? And this is a global thing, right? Because everywhere, people need to know how to find a job. QuickHire, yes.
Right. So the best thing that anyone can do is just to download the beta app and follow us on our social media, like Get QuickHire on Instagram, Facebook. Deborah and I have been doing a lot of outreach to different investors and things like that. And one of the investors was trying to give us a helpful, honest tip and told us, because we are Black women, we are going to struggle to find people that will actually invest their money into what we are building. And they're only going to want to invest if they see that we are being successful. And so right now we're not even concerned with getting anyone's investment. We are depending on our community support, and that support just comes from a simple download. That's all we need, just for people to download the app, put 5 stars on it. If you know anyone that is looking for a job, or if you're not even looking for a job or you just want to support, just download the app. That's all we need is just a simple download.
Just a simple download. Okay. And that is simple. Yes, because I've done that. Yes. So beyond download, what else? Yes, talk about it. That's all you need. Okay. Again, congratulations. We could go on and on and on and on. but I'm very proud of you and your sister and all of you. I just get amazed and say, my goodness, this is amazing. Thank you. Well, do you have any question, any comment, something that I may have left out? And then we'll end up with the drum. And if you want to sing your song, Mnywana wawa kuhaire, meaning your friend has given you something. Be grateful, however small. Be grateful. Even this moment we have, on this radio here, talking to the whole world. We are very, very grateful to give us that care. We are very, very grateful. But before we go to that, just, anything you'd like to share, please do.
No, just follow QuickHire, download the app, and also thank you for having me, and happy early birthday. Your birthday is tomorrow. Don't know if the listeners know that, so happy early birthday, Mom.
Oh, thank you. I am very, very excited. Yes, indeed. I've been dancing already.
There you go.
Yes, indeed. Oh, you talked about chapati. Probably I should eat chapati tomorrow. Such delicious food. We have a proverb. We have a proverb in Toro. That is my tribe in Uganda. The proverb says, "Akana katabunga kagamba ngumau nuwe achumba obunura." That is a mouthful, but it means a child that does not visit other homes believes that, the mother, his or her own mother, is the only one who knows how to prepare good food. But when they taste other food elsewhere, oh my goodness, what a discovery. So same thing with what we're talking about. Culture, talent, knowledge. There is knowledge all over. We are suffering in the world now today, maybe because some voices are not heard that could easily solve the problems among us. So the more we can share, across cultures, across races, across genders, across age. I learn a lot from young people, and many learn a lot from me. I usually tell my students, sit around, wait. So you will know that I know something. And by the end, you think I'm so cool and nice. Well, my dear one, so let us sing our song, or, I can sing it, just join in, hum around, sing. Yes, but the song says when someone gives you something, be grateful. Be grateful. So we are reintroducing the concept of gratitude into our world. Let us be grateful that we have each other, that we know each other, that we can share this moment. We can speak different languages and understand each other. All right. So, munywani wawe wako hairo, talimugaya munywani wawe wako hairo. Akuhaire, talimugaya munywani wawe wako hairo. Angela wawe akuhaire. Now it's you, because you've given us. Anji wawe akuhaire, talimugaya. Anji wawe akuhaire, talimugaya. Anji wawe akuhaire, talimugaya. Wonderful. Yes, give us that care. Akuhaire has given us this moment. We are grateful. So you'll be well in California, and tomorrow you can always celebrate in that beautiful apartment overlooking the whole city. So go there, look through the window and just celebrate my birthday.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, dear, thank you. Have a good evening, and we're grateful to give us that care.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Mom. Bye. You're welcome, baby. Bye.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.